Those of you know about all this information, know about the trolls and the paid shills and the ones that purport to share the knowledge and help you see the light of the truth of this world, the lies of this world. But they insult you when they do it. And on my other platform, I'm going to go into this old fella right here. Because he's mocking your intelligence, as I told you before, with the whole personal dome thing is like the stupidest thing they've ever said. And then he's trying to make fun of where we really live, the Gleason's map, which again, P1, the last few parts you already know is BS. But anyhow, how we could have that many people subscribed, I really believe it must be a paid off number. I hope the world isn't that silly, falling for this stuff. But people, they don't look astronomy. They don't look into the details. I mean, the planisphere. Let me go there. So this paid shill over here, I don't know if he's paid. They claim he's got script writers to prop up our ball Earth model and tell you that these flight paths advertised by actors like John Travolta exists, but other people can't buy the tickets. But then when you check into this planisphere that works, that's how you observe the stars in your own personal dome. That's what this is, goofball. Based on your location, check into it. This guy patented this. And when you reference a patent, if you're using somebody else's stuff, what's it based on? The patent is based on the Gleason's map. Come on, people. Where everybody lives. Ain't nobody living on Antarctica. I'm going to go into more detail on this in my other platform there, the next part. But like I said, this is patented on the Gleason's map, which has a patent for being a time calculator. Okay? So all this stuff has to match observation, people. So when this guy's telling you a personal dome, imagine the stars right above this right here, and you right here in the middle, just like this guy's got it pictured. Only the stars are out here. Remember the celestial dome, and the other part proves, you got imagination going on. And it's a planisphere, and the sphere only goes 180 degrees, right? 90 in all directions, right? Not 360. And it's right there in the name, plane. Okay? Simple, people. Wake up. Over here at Hillbilly EDU, that's what we do. That's how we roll. We mock our EDU system, .edu. Yeah, here's some common sense EDU for you folks. Planisphere definition. Look what you Google. Just Google. What is meant by the term your own personal planisphere? What do we get? A map of half or more celestial sphere with a device for indicating and right here, planisphere. You see this right here? What I found noteworthy in finding this out, by trying to show people truth, you learn even more truth. Just scroll down to the bottom over here and you see the truth. I've highlighted part of it in plain sight. Accurate planispheres represent the celestial coordinates, right ascension and declination. The changing position of the planets, asteroids, comets, so everything you're going to view from an accurate spot, right? From a perspective of accuracy, you need this coordinate system, the celestial coordinate system. Also, just so happened to be used with navigation, with the these two instruments. You stand up and you got your sextant here and you're using the stars to navigate and find your way, like they did for eons when they knew what they were standing on was flat. Because if you find optics and normal is a 90-degree, which is what you achieve when you're looking through here and finding your stars and using this. But on that I digress. Anyhow, That is the truth of your real planetary dome that he's mocking you with. But, you know, these false priests of scientism, they go out there, you're told in the Bible, question everything, hold fast to that which is true. They lie. Boy, do they lie. To George Orwell, arbiter of truth. What are the stars? For certain purposes, of course, that is not true. When we navigate the ocean or when we predict an eclipse, we often find it convenient to assume that the Earth goes around the sun and that the stars are millions upon millions of kilometers away. But what of it? Do you suppose it is beyond us to produce a dual system of astronomy? The stars can be near or distant according to as we need them. Do you suppose our mathematicians are unequal to that? Have you forgotten doublethink? Remember, our modern world is built on the inventions of Nikola Tesla. And when asked about Einstein's relativity work, he stated it is a magnificent mathematical garb which fascinates, bedazzles, and makes people blind to its underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are brilliant men, but they are metaphysicists rather than scientists. So his are nothing but conjecture and fallacy, just like it's stated in Orwell's 1984. Just want to delve into this a little deeper for those still holding on to this illusion. This thing where in part one the man had to claim numerous times, imagine. Well, let's just, take a breath here and test the spirits. Spirit of man knowledge right here on your screen. You've got my spirit. I'm in opposition. Let's rationalize together, and see what is true. We have the ecliptic plane, that again, according to any EDU university you attend for astronomy, whether it be MIT or South Alabama, Caltech, whatever. They're all going to tell you this model right here. This is how everything works. So how do you end up generating such oddities, such odd paths when this ecliptic path of the sun lines up, the ecliptic plane with the moon to create the eclipse that generates this path on your ball Earth? If you just try to picture how that's happening, why would it only generate such a small thing if it's way out here, when it crosses over? How would it generate all these odd paths? Yeah, this one goes way down here. It just arcs down like that. See, it's the details where you really expose the problems with what they're showing you. And I just want to go into those details briefly, touch on them, expose some of the fallacies and the thought processes involved. This little cartoon here, you see the light rays are straight. If they inserted the moon right here, then you would see your light rays diverging, Xing across with your umbra penumbra. So it's straight when they want to prove that they know it's a ball and they know how big the ball is because the light is straight, but then the light's crossed when you got to have a tiny little shadow here on the moon. Remember, you have to have all this cognitive dissonance going on to buy this story. Again, back to the story that they're telling you, the summer solstice. What dates do these occur? These are important stuff to know when you're going to decipher the claims. Okay, so the summer solstice, June 20th, 2024, would put the sun right there. Okay? And we would be tilted toward it, right? See, your Earth tilt 23.4, leaving 66.6 off the vertical, right? Yeah. The number of a man again popping up. Anyhow, I digress. I'm sorry. Go over here. We're looking at the vernal equinox, March 19th. And then I want to go back and point out how April 8th, 2024, path is coming up from Texas and going out over Lake Erie, okay? April 8th, 2024. August 21st, 2017, it went from northwest to southeast. Look here, folks. If we project that over here, let's gain a little understanding, common ground, if you will, on our model, just so we know where we're standing when we examine these things in a truthful manner. This equinox, September 22nd. Okay, keep that in mind. That's where this is. That's where you put all this stuff in a reference point of time. March 20th, 22nd, something like that right here. So if you were to place the moon right here, let's call that April 8th, 2024, total solar eclipse, projected up here, right? So that correlates with the story, with this tilt that you examine over here. History, his story. His story and my story don't match. But what has to match? They're cartoons with observed reality. This has to match the analemma. You understand, right? So you notice your pole remains in the same orbital plane all the way through your cartoon. That has to be that way so they can explain away the darkened pole in the winter and the 24-hour sun on the analemma circling the pole. And let your imagination do the rest on the South Pole. See the problem here, folks? Now let's go back to the solar eclipses. We've got, again, I just want to point out how your model does not match our observations, but mine does. See, they've got the circle on the North Pole for the analemma, but down here on the South Pole, we don't have 24 hours of sun down there, and the analemma doesn't show a circle in the south. After it crosses over the equator, it's just a loop and goes back. You've got a loop and it crosses. Where does it cross? Think about it. And then when you're over here, does night and day really flip in reality or only in cartoon land? Congruent storytelling over here on the April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse. We come around that summer solstice is June, I think, 20th or something like that. Remember, over here, July 8th, National Flat Earth Day, when 99% of the population all see the sun except for Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, and Australia. Okay, makes perfect sense. No, it don't. Anyhow, we go over here to September comes after August, so the 2017 total solar eclipse had to be up here on the high side of the ecliptic plane, not the descended side, right? And this occurs over the period of a year, not a day, not 5 hours. Eclipse lasted 5 hours, and it went from north to south on the high side. How does that happen in this model? If we was to project where this Earth would be at that point of the 2017 solar eclipse, it'd be right here, with the moon up here. So how could it be going down in a 5-hour period from high to low? It's on the high side of the ecliptic plane, people, not on this underside that don't exist anyway. Remember, this Earth is this plane. This is the ecliptic plane where all 3 billiard balls have to line up for the eclipse to happen. This is your own, science, astronomy, cosmology. Sometimes the opposite occurs. Like you'll have the wrong time of the year. You'll have one of these paths circling around the wrong pole. You know what I'm saying? Like when it's winter time, we've got one of these here eclipses up over the North Pole. Just dumb stuff like that. But while getting ready to put together this part, I turned a comment from good old brother Paul in England. I hope he's doing well. And I just thought, since he wants to use his mathematical skills again to explain away why we would witness a 70-mile diameter shadow in 2017 at the same time of year over America, and 2045 it would be double that on August 12th. He's going to use math and I hope an ephemeris showing me where that moon earth ball all lined up. And while he's at it, let's please explain this stuff. Recall, this would be the subsolar point, probably, right? The node way up here in Mexico, in the tropics, where the sun and the moon supposedly only ever travels. Yet these miraculous totality events travel all over where everyone lives. This one's going starting in the center of South America. Wonder how come here in North America, since I'm on the same side of the ball, I can't see this event. Huh. Just like in 2017, we could see it, but only half of them could, huh? It's amazing. Please explain this. I really want you to model this up. See, that's why we only get cartoons, not full-scale models, right? It don't work in reality. It's so sad. Anyhow, I digress on all of that. Let's do this. This is the real one I want you to get to. Go ahead and try and somehow explain away what we observed in 2017 and what we will see in 2045 when it passes over here and it somehow doubles in diameter. And also tell me how I get a total solar eclipse up here over what is that, Greenland? And over there where you live, south of you, it's going up over the pole and then coming down over south of where you live, Paul. How does that happen? Is that where you live? Or am I mistaken on all this? I'm not up on all my globe modeling here. But I'd like for you to tell me how it could be that, 2017, the path of totality is down here over America. It's 70 miles wide. 2045, it's down here over America. August 12th, Brother Paul, August 12th, 2045, down over here. Double. So it's 160 miles, right? At least 150 over the same damn territory. 2045. Model this up for me. You're going to prove me wrong here. And then August 2026, North Pole, Greenland. And is that England? Then it's going south of England. And how big is that diameter? Please model it. Show me how your model works. But I want you to remember that this picture here was taken in Denver, Colorado when it was 92% and I was south of the center line. I would have had to go Casper, Wyoming, north of me to catch the totality. And then people north of that would have saw the opposite of what I pictured here. In, what is that? Symmetrical parallax on the curveball Earth. Yeah, please explain all this, how all this happens on a ball Earth. Please explain, Brother Paul, with math, and hopefully all the ephemerates to back it up. Otherwise, it's just speculation, ain't it? Yes, Brother Paul, is this not an example of what I said earlier? Does the ball Earth wobble? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Please bedazzle me with all that math, knowledge, and wisdom. How is that going to end up August 12th, the same day as it is in 2045, on an ephemeris, going to show me how that total solar eclipse is going to come over the pole. And at the same time, remember, on the 21st, I filmed one in 2017 right here that if I'd have went up to Casper, Wyoming, I would have seen full. If I'd have went north, it would have totality been south of me. So how does it end up way over here? And while you're at it, 2026, August 12th, again, right? Path width, greatest eclipse, 294. 2045, greatest eclipse, 255. It's only going to elongate 50 kilometers. Way up on the North Pole, on the ball, on the curve of the earth. Yeah, please. Explain how all this works to us, Paul. Bedazzle us with your great mathematical skills. It's only 50 kilometers or miles bigger up here than it is here. But in 2017, it was half the size. And yet it's the same object with all these different paths at the same time of the year, when we're told it only goes 5 degrees above and below. I mean, you know, that's what you're telling us, people. And it has to be on the node, on the ecliptic plane. Show me all that in your ephemeris. Prove how your model works like that. I can show you if you go back to part 1 on my other platforms, how all of this could work with water and glass, right? As described in the Bible. Again, you can't prove the Bible wrong, but you can observe this not to be accurate. Okay, Brother Paul, bedazzle us with these subsets here. We've got the same time of year, so we've got the same tilt on your magical, orbiting, wobbling space ball Earth. So the only other equation out of the 3 billiard balls in your 3-card Monte that you get to move around is your distance and relative position or inclination near the node. It's got to be on the node. Remember, I think the node would correspond down here in this picture. But anyway, model it up. Tell me how this path here only gets to be 50 miles wider than the one in 2045. Okay, which passed down here along the same path as the one in 2017, which was again half that diameter. And you're going to use an ephemeris. Remember, show me where that moon is to produce all this. Right? And there's 2017. Good luck. Perhaps this image will help you understand the absurdity of this. Why is it April? Okay, we're tilting toward it and it's going up. This one, you know, kind of makes sense with your all earth belief. You can see how they show it. But why aren't you able to see anything? You see what I'm saying? Why is it only over North America? Right? Oh, because we're tilted that way. Okay, all right. Very key point here, folks. I just want to point this out. This is your belief system. This path for this total eclipse here coming up, okay, April 8th, 2024, going from south to north. October 2023, going from north to south, right? Crossing right over Texas. You're going to believe that is occurring right about here. Let's put the sun and moon right here, the ecliptic plane. This is how it's supposed to happen. That generates that path up over North America. But if the light rays are parallel, and that's how they knew the Earth was a ball, how come nobody down here in South America gets to see both sides of it? They're only going to see a partial from the south when it's way out here, on your celestial sphere. You see how you have to have these two cognitive belief systems going on that war against each other? The truth is congruent. Only the lies of man have this incongruity. If you'll go back and check, I think Michio Kaku said it's the biggest mismatch in science is the one in cosmology. It's off by a factor of 10. I guess it's with 120 zeros behind it. That's just absurd, but people want to go along to get along and check their brain at the door and not question what you're told because it's just too hard. You don't like it. I don't like to think about it. Test this hillbilly spirit coming to you over this channeling device of yours. Look at what you're seeing. There's the April 8th path. Look how wide that outer circle is. It doesn't even cross over South America. They don't get to see any of that, not even a partial in April. That's what that's telling you, folks. Only those in that circle get to see it. Now look, October. It's going over North America, the center line, and then over South America. And you're going to believe that it's the same object at the same distance that they're telling you that's creating all that. Now, what kind of cognitive dissonance do you have to hold to believe what they're telling you is true? How could it be that in October it's going to cross over North America and go south? Here's a great way to put the spirit of this old hillbilly and the spirit of the wisdom of this age to the test. Find out which one is spitting truth to you, friend. Look here. I've shown you in earlier parts if you've benefited from that. Now, over here in Perth, basically on the same latitude, just so you know, I never did mention that. I didn't put the grid system on, but if you check Johannesburg and Perth, they're identical on this thing, but I digress. I'm sure if you can test this on this date, November 25th, 2030, versus the lunar eclipse footage, which was complete opposite. Perth is looking generally southwest. Johannesburg is looking generally northeast. And then when they link up the time and the footage, that it's more or less rotated opposite. When it gets over here in the middle, they'll at the same time see the exact opposite. And they probably won't show you that footage, you know. How they do with the coverage here for the 2017, I've exposed that, how they all jammed themselves on one side of the line and said, from our perspective here, and then turned around and started talking to the other people and pretended like the Bailey's beads was all occurring on the same limb of the moon all over, but not true. It's rotating everywhere. Which again, makes it the sign, the only sign given, like Jesus said, wake up. Come on, folks, help us all test these so-called truths. This is Mr. Eclipse-wise. At the time he drew all this stuff in the 2014s, he was working at NASA, and they gave him all the credit for the paths here, so I would imagine they're accurate. So anybody in Hillbilly EDU land over in here, please break out the film. Azimuth, direction, time, GPS location. Both sides, all the way down through here. I'll try to get a hold of the guy, Japan, Brazil, and whatnot, and see if he can get folks down here at the exact same time that you're filming up here to film this here, and see if it's not completely opposite when it gets right here in the center. It'll just spin, probably, when it crosses the equator. That ought to be really cool. Think about it. You film it the entire time. When it hits the maximum, which would be the center point, it'll be close to the equator. It should flip. This shouldn't happen on ball Earth, people, in one short period of time. That's why I'm saying test my claims. Just like over here, this same footage that we saw in the 2018 lunar eclipse, where they're looking north, these people from Perth are looking south in this direction. and the moon is kind of flipped from their position. I mean, come on, that means it's in between them, folks. And this path is going to pass right in between them. The high point will be right here in between them. So please, anybody over here, video it when it starts. See what you can see with Johannesburg. It should be completely flipped. This is mind-blowing proof. Right out of the Bible, Jesus told us all about it. But only if you look at it, folks. Listen, in keeping with the idea that the solar eclipse is the sign of Jonah, also wanted to note a little factoid. It's Soros 44 was the one for Jonah. It had 35 total solar eclipses. The rest are partials. I don't recall seeing a hybrid in the bunch. Unlike the hybrid cars you got running around pretty common, it's told to us by our purveyors of all we know that it's rare. So, made me think of this. There will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. I don't know the answer at this time, but there's a total path that's going between Johannesburg and Australia. I wonder how many of these people north of Papua New Guinea will be able to see that path in 2030. But in keeping with the idea that, the Gleason's map, the one that's actually patented where you live as a time calculator and used as a planisphere backdrop for where you can be to see stars, and all that good truth. Let's point out the fact that July 8th, 99% of the population's world, other than except the majority of the people right here that can witness this, they see the sun at one specific time. And on this specific solar eclipse, it's a hybrid that goes from the phenomenon of annual to total to annular. Very long time period that would take, I would imagine, right? But yet the one that occurred in North America lasted longer, apparently. Now just wrap your mind around the nonsense they got to tell you. Unless it's elongated, it's longer down the south. That explains why it would go annular, total, or annular, people, if it's bigger down there. But only them people get to see it. Very small subset of the Earth. Think about it. What in the world are you telling me? Starts out as an annular and goes to a total and then comes back to an annular. Please, people. Right here. In this particular case, the eclipse path starts out as an annular. Further down the track, changes to a total and then back to an annular before it ends. See? Red, annular, annular. Come on. That's not how this works, people. The details is what exposes their lies. And then you go to time and date for the same eclipse, different information. You need to correlate their stories, but I guess we can't hold old Fred responsible because that's no longer the NASA logo. He's retired. That was the Eclipse Wise guy, Mr. Eclipse. It's not NASA, that's not trusted source. We can say that we don't have to believe that. He's wrong. Time and date, we'll choose to believe them. Truth's congruent, right? You see how they're doing that? Giving you their goofball model. Well, okay. So if it starts out here on the curve as an annular, remember I told you before that when it's up here on the north, it should elongate the shadow right on the curve. But no, sir. There was none of that annular switching over here in North America up on the curve. But down here on this curve near the equator, buddy, it happens, don't it? Huh. Funny how when you see all those central eclipses, you don't see any of that. They have totals. They don't do this. Think about it, people. You're talking the same object doing all this nonsense. Come on. I mean, it's retarded. It's like the 2018 lunar eclipse logic they were giving you. It's because it's the longest one in 100 years. It's because it's now at 406,000 kilometers away. It's a micro moon. Okay.